Welcome to the Welcome to the Real Momentum Podcast. It's Joe Herrera. I think this is episode number 11. I'm here with my guy, Dan Banks, the man, the myth, the legend. Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you and I have been talking for quite a while, but for anyone listening in, you've got a pretty cool story, how you ended up in real estate. And obviously, real estate wasn't your first stop on the journey. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Joe, you're going to have to give me some constraints. I need some time limits here because this can go for days. How much time do we have, by the way?
Usually try to stick to about a half hour.
Oh, okay. Well, I got into real estate about 2002 in Naples, Florida, after working for the Hyatt as an OPC. I don't know if you know what an OPC is, but in Vegas, they're the guys out there handing out the dinners and the free rounds of golf the timeshares. Yeah. So I didn't really believe in that product, but I knew people bought real estate and made money. Growing up in Naples, it's a town built on real estate. And I got a license and started to sell real estate in my early 20s. So did that for a few years, and then a series of events happened that led me to reevaluating what I wanted to do with my life. And I always liked to play music and sing and write songs. I did that before real estate. And after my dad passed away, when he was 53, my dad passed away from cancer. And his goal was to retire at 55. So I said to myself, what am I really doing with what do I really want to do with my life? So I thought, well, I want to move to Nashville. I want to throw myself in the ring with some of the best songwriters in the world and try to write professionally. So that's what brought me to Nashville. Stopped real estate altogether and took like a break and wrote songs. Had a baby. Didn't want to gamble a songwriting career on that, and decided to get back into real estate. They say for professional songwriters, it's like a 7 to 10 year overnight success.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't want to. I took my money off the table and went back into real estate. But it was like I was starting over from scratch. I only knew how to get to a couple places in Nashville where I went to write songs, where I went to eat, and so getting into real estate in Nashville was, you might as well drop me into nowhere, Oklahoma. I didn't know much about Nashville other than, yeah.
So when did you know you had a talent to sing or write music? I mean, I've heard some of your stuff. You're really good. So just background on that. I admire people that can sing. I admire people that can run. I admire people that can stick to good, healthy habits of eating. These are all three things that I admire that I'm not great at. So your ability to sing is something that I envy. But so how'd you discover that?
It's something that I really didn't share. I knew I could sing. I think I remember hearing the Beatles as a young little boy. I just got into songs, and I would sing when nobody was at home. It was when I was completely in the home with a tile floor with the high ceiling, and I can hear the natural reverb. And I think any singer or songwriter will tell you they fall in love with the sound of their own voice. And but it's not anything I did professionally until my 20s for money.
So you moved to Nashville. Talk about, so you got into real estate. I mean, was it what made you? I mean, you talked about Naples. Was it just the experience growing up, seeing what real estate agents could do or how they could make money? Did you enjoy entering the house purchasing and selling process with people? Like, what made you choose the practice of real estate?
Well, that's what I knew how to do. Besides, I knew how to do sales, and I knew that selling real estate was something I can always believe in. I knew how that worked, but when I sold real estate, it was kind of a different world. It was pre-Zillow. It was I think texting was just starting to happen. It was a kind of a simpler, purer time.
Days. We call it the glory
days.
Yeah.
When the phone was a phone, and so I had the basics, you know, and I grew up in real estate in the Mike Ferry world, and that's really where I really learned how to sell real estate and opened my mind to making money in real estate, you know. So when I went back to real estate here, I reached out to somebody who I knew who actually was running a big team out in the suburb of Nashville. And I said, "Hey man, I'm thinking about getting back into real estate." And he's like, "Well, come on out here. I have a team, and you know, I'm prospecting on January 1st. Meet me in the morning." I said, "January 1st is New Year's Day." He's like, "Yeah, but that's when the expireds hit the MLS."
Wow.
I'm like, "You're going to be calling expireds on January 1st?" So I knew, like, that's a guy I wanted to meet, and he gave me a break and a chance to start working for him on a team. And but I didn't want to stay on a team because I that's something I never did. You know, I always
Right.
sold real estate for myself, and that's how it started.
So talk
In
about
Nashville.
settle down south as a brokerage. Like when did you guys, because when you and I first met, you were running an independent brokerage, you had agents that worked with you. Like talk about how you got into brokerage ownership and what your experience was like there.
Well, you know, I got to work. The first company I really worked for in town, I thought was really well done. You know, it was a larger independent brokerage here. It's called Village. I guess I could just say it. But it really went together. Everything the name went with the location, went with the vibe, went with the people. In songwriting, they call that prosody. When the lyrics match the words, match the melody, and it's all working together. It's a powerful thing when everything's going together. So I saw that as like, wow, man, this is a really well done thing here. This is a man who had a vision, who developed something, took it all the way, and I love that company. I just wasn't in a position yet where I was, you know, I recently got divorced at the time. I had a 2.5, 3-year-old. I was figuring out how to do that half the time, and you know, when you get divorced, sometimes your sphere will leave. You know, they will go to the other side of the fence.
Still
So
get them in the divorce, yeah.
yeah, so that's fine. You know, she's great, and the people who I had as a sphere from songwriting, I never wanted them to think of me as a real estate guy because that's offensive. You know, if someone's writing songs for a living only, that's all they do. They don't want to hear about your other job. They're making stuff up every single day to try to put food on the table. So anyway, I joined this company, and I would go there after hours a lot, and I would just kind of admire it, you know, like, wow, this is a really well done thing. And but then some things changed with management, and it got bought or sold. I'm not even sure the specifics, but it changed. And the broker that was there that I loved, that was kind of loving me through a period of time that was really hard in my life, she kind of was, you know, she left, you know, or was asked to move down the hall, and I was just like, I'm not staying here because the culture was different, you know, and that's a really important thing for me. I got to feel like the culture's right, and I want to be at a company that I feel like I could stay at for the rest of my life. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that likes to jump, because if I'm going to make some kind of marketing or something like that, I want it to last forever. So I was looking for that forever company. Then I went to another large independent company here, which had really good name brand recognition in the South. I've never heard of it before, but people here knew what it was, and that's called Crylike. And I said, okay, I can get with this. It reminded me of the company I was working for in Naples, and it had the Southern vibe that I felt resonated with the community. I'm not from the South. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. I grew up in Naples, Florida. From a young, Florida is not the South, by the way.
Florida's the South,
Just
bro. I hate to tell you.
yeah. Guess what? You have to travel north to hit the South. I didn't realize that till I got to Nashville,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, so I really liked that, and then I went to work there because my partner was working there, and he loved it there, and I just like working around people who are doing the same thing. I feed off the energy of the people that I work with, for better or for worse. And he was somebody that was very focused on listings and doing all the things that I wanted to do too. And then if stuff would, when you have a high producing listing agent, there's lots of business that comes off of that.
Sure.
And if they're not there to catch it, their money's falling off the table. So that's how I met my partner. We became friends. He ended up leaving. I said, well, let's start our own company. Let's think of a name.
Yeah.
Wrote down all these names. As a songwriter, I'm thinking, let's play to the audience. Let's come up with a name for a company that people, when they hear it, it's like they've always heard it, like it's been there forever. And that's how we came up with Settle Down South. And that's exactly what happened. Even though we were a new company, people are like, "Oh, I've heard of you before." And no, they haven't, but that's exactly that's what they were supposed to say. So we started
awesome.
a company.
That's awesome. So I love the origin story. I kind of do the superhero thing in our podcast, which is origin stories, superpower, and kryptonite, like your weakness. So if you had to identify, either as an individual or as a group, like where would you say your superpower is? What are you really, really good at?
We're really great with listings, and we're really great with prospecting, lead follow-up, and when people a house and they've been there for 20, 30 years, there is a story that goes with that house. There is a family attached to that house. There might be deceased people, now they're selling the house. It can be a complicated thing, and it isn't always pretty, but we're really good at those. We are good at handling those situations because of my personal experience, because of Chuck's personal experience. We handle that stuff very well, and that probably is our superpower. And nothing.
But a lot of
we
agents,
don't. Nothing. Go ahead.
a lot of agents struggle with those things. So, like, how are you finding success in something that other people are struggling with so much? Is it just, I've talked to some people where it's kind of like Gold Rush, right? The TV show of digging. If you dig through enough dirt, you're going to find some gold, type thing. Calling lists, calling, FISBOs, calling things like that, like estate sales. It's a tough way to do business. But if you guys are having some success, kind of beating the bushes, like how do you get through it? Where are you succeeding where others are failing?
Well, we're willing to do some of the things that other people aren't willing to do, and that's one of the ways we've succeeded. And and that's part of the reason we joined Real as well, because that big strength has been a big liability at times too. Because when you're so focused on this is what we're going to do every single day, because we're just going to grind, we're just going to grind. Our blinders are on to bigger opportunities out there in the world and the way the business was evolving. So, to reach those people, you call those people, and like they say, cold call cowboys. Well, that's who I am. That's who Chuck Charles Hill is, and that's just one way of getting business, though. There's many ways to get business, as you know, but we stuck to that, and that's kind of what we preach to our agents. And it's not the way everybody wants to do it, and I'm not even recommending it, honestly, necessarily. It might not be the best way for anybody to do it, but that's just what we did. And today we're opening our minds and doing stuff like we've never done before, and that's what's been really exciting about joining Real. Is it's a great big world. We're hearing from guys like you, teams that are killing it in different markets, openly sharing what's working for you, different agents who are part of huge nationwide coaching companies who are paying premium money to find out these secrets, openly sharing them with everybody. That doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. So this is the only company. Yeah, it's been so invigorating. It's take as an owner, the liability, the weight of that is always with you. Would you agree?
Yeah. You're like running a team, running a brokerage. You're always responsible. Like, people think it's all glamorous, but the reality is you go home at night and you realize you've got mouths to feed. And while it may not be a W-2 situation, it is if you're running a team, and if you're doing it right, you feel the weight of the agents that are that you have responsibility to work with. So I mean, I definitely think that's, part of being a part of something bigger is,
Mm.
when you travel, you see the world, you see how other people live, you're able to take things from them. Sometimes it's gratitude, sometimes it's concepts of lifestyle. I was down in Costa Rica, and it's all about pura vida down there, the pure life. And so you take that back with you. So now, if you take that to a real estate organism, like a living company, you realize that you can see business being done in different ways and people being great at things that you're not at. And all of a sudden, it opens up your mind. So I certainly see that. Talk about your kryptonite. Like, where are you weak? What are you working on improving, or what are you trying to? I'm a big, don't don't improve upon weaknesses. Basically, hire them. Like, if you're not good at something, just hire somebody that is. But
Yeah.
what are you working on these days? What's your biggest weakness?
That's a good point you just brought up, because being a business owner and a dad, it's hard to find time to go to the store, to eat healthy, to do all those sorts of things. So what I've recently done is I hired a local food delivery plan. So I'm hoping that as time goes on, as videos go out, and this is it's like a weight loss transformation that you start to see before your eyes, because I'm eating better. So that has been a big weakness. When you work all day, when you work 10, 12 hours a day, and then you realize I haven't eaten, what do? You go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
yeah,
You eat like crap. That's what you do. And then you go to bed and you feel like miserable. So
yeah.
that's been changing. That's been changing.
That's
But
awesome.
again, this
I
is
mean,
like this is like the weight of the world of that responsibility of owning my own company. That being gone has created so much space in my mind, in my heart, spiritually, and I could refocus my energy onto stuff that actually makes me feel good and not
that's awesome.
completely stressed out all the time. So
It's
it's
cool that
been
you can
cool.
recognize that. Yeah. So we've got a few minutes left. Talk about your move over to Real. Like, what you and I came in contact as you were considering, Real. What, what helped you make that decision? And then what has been your experience since? Like, what are your agents experiencing? What are you experiencing? I had a friend of mine said, the cool thing about what you guys are doing is a brokerage without borders. Like, we're used to the four
Hmm.
walls of our office, we're used to the state lines of our licensure. Then you move into the real world, and it's a virtual brokerage, collaborating. You're back south, and I'm out west, and we collaborate together. And so it kind of opens up your mind a little bit. But what led you to Real, and what's been your experience since you got there?
It was the perfect time for our company. We were analyzing what we were doing as a company. We were right at the point where we were either going to push all our efforts this direction or all our efforts that direction, like recruiting or sales. And right at that moment, I had start to see Real pop up here and there. I didn't understand what it was, but I saw, like, oh, it's Nasdaq. I guess it's a real estate company, and I go along with my life. And then I start to see, it just started to come more into my consciousness, I guess. And then I remember the day when the news came in through the wire where Red Rock had moved over to Real. And I'm like, what is
Hmm.
this? What is Red Rock? I looked at Red Rock, 300 agents, 2 point something billion in sales a year. They moved their whole company over to Real Broker. What is that? Those guys aren't dumb. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
the
yeah.
smartest guy in the room. So I looked into it closely. That's how I found you. I saw something you were talking about on YouTube, and I went to lunch with my partner, and I said, we need to look at this Real thing. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
But I just saw this video with this guy. His name is Joe something. I'm gonna call him, and I just called him. We're eating fajitas, and I talked to your secretary, and I'm like, I want to talk to this guy I just saw on YouTube about Real. I didn't even know what this is, but he looks smart. Red Rocks looks smart. They're on the Nasdaq. This looks cool. I love that name. Look at that logo. That logo you could flip upside down. To me, I'm trained as a songwriter to identify great ideas. It's like I'm always listening beyond what everybody's saying, because you never know where that title's coming. right?
Right.
Like the other day I was at the cigar bar and my buddy's like, yeah, man, it's like redneck Shakespeare. And I'm like, Shakespeare, redneck Shakespeare, beer pops off, goes all over. I mean, that's the way my mind works, you know? So I'm like, it resonated with me immediately. The name, real. Who doesn't want to be real? What's the opposite of real? Fake?
Yeah.
Who wants to be that? You know, who want a fraud? So I looked into it. We got to talking. I learned more about the benefits of it. I learned, really, there was very little downside. I guess the biggest downside was I was going to have to change some marketing stuff, some signs. It's just part of the program. And talk to my agents about it, see if they wanted to do it. And once we all talked about it and we all saw what we saw, to make more money doing the same job we're doing anyway, it was a no-brainer. It was absolutely a no-brainer. And then it was like, I want to be a part of something at this stage in the game that I think is nothing but upside potential. You know, what if it fails? What are we going to do? Back to doing what we were doing anyway. So what's the big deal? Am I addicted to my ego? Am I addicted to my name? You know, and is people addicted to the company they're at? I don't know. But I, as a company owner, nobody loves Settle Down South Realty more than this guy. I promise you.
Right.
And I'm like, well, can we keep our name? Yes, we can keep our name. We could integrate it with the logo? Well, that's pretty cool. We didn't lose anything. All we did was gain a whole bunch of stuff. So once
That's
that
awesome.
bulb went on, and it just was like, this is. And here's the thing, Joe. What I thought I was signing up for was not. It was really not what I've experienced since I've been there, and that's been the greatest surprise. Because although I understood their way of doing business and the all that stuff, I get it. I'm a smart guy, but what I've been blown away by is the culture, the values, the CEO, the visionary. He's the real thing. He's the real thing.
Awesome.
He's just, and I love being a part of people like that and being in business with people like you who get it.
Well, listen, man, I got two things for you. Thank you for hopping on. I'm going to need one of those hats.
Mm-hmm.
That thing's fire. I need one of those things. That Settle Down South hat.
Yep.
Number two,
you.
I'm just grateful to be in business with you. Grateful to grow with you. I'm excited to be on this journey. I think we got some big things ahead of us, and 2022 is a big year of growth for you. It's a big year of growth for me. I'm excited to be doing it together, and I appreciate your willingness to hop on and share your story and be honest with us. And so I appreciate you.
Anytime. Appreciate it, Joe.